Okay, so my next project is this bow eye. And as you can see, it's completely loose. So I need to get to the back of it, to the inside of the bow, and look at the backing on it. And my guess is epoxy, either some new backing or maybe re-epoxy, whatever's back there. I'm guessing it's probably a stainless steel plate. So we'll see, maybe it's broken loose with the fiberglass. I'm not really sure. Usually they're embedded in fiberglass. So we'll see. I'm gonna have to put in an inspection port in order to access it. So I guess time to get cracking on that. Okay, so here's the inspection port, and you can see the placement of it is gonna line up pretty well with being able to access the bow eye. So this is a Sea Dog, and that's what Precision used, at least on their newer boats. So my plan is to put it about right there. So when you put in these inspection ports, of course, the hole has to be big enough for this lip to insert into the hole. So the diameter is the outside of this lip. And so the lid, the widest part of the lid, is that same diameter. And so what I do is I use the lid as a template to draw where my hole's going. Well, I expected to see a bunch of flotation foam in here, but there is not. Now it's interesting. There's a bulkhead right here, made out of fiberglass. So I just missed that. Okay, so today I figured out that the backing plate from my bow eye on the P-16 completely rotted. It was gone. Like there were just little pieces of it left, but there was nothing back there. And so there's a metal backing plate that is right in front of the bolts. And so it was the bow, the wood backing plate, then the metal on top of that, and then the bolts. And so with the wood gone, then there's a big gap. And so that's why the bow eye was moving so much. And you could turn the screws on the outside of the bow eye and basically pull the metal backing plate forward and make it appear to be tight. But, you know, without the wood backing block that's back there, you know, it's a very small piece of metal. And so it just, you know, it wouldn't hold firm. And slowly over time, it was damaging the fiberglass. Not to mention that water was definitely coming in the bow while the boat was sailing. So I put in the inspection port, and what I figured out is that because the shaft of the bow eye, it's very long, so I needed a deep socket. And the angle of it, because it's angled up, there's no way to get to it. The bow, like the deck, the front deck up in the bow, you know, it angles right up toward that deck. And so you can't get a long socket, a deep socket over the shaft and onto the nuts to try and, you know, loosen it, because basically you're underneath the deck, and so it blocks your access. So I tried using, like, you know, just an old conventional wrench, and I couldn't even turn, you know, one, you can't see anything, so I'm working completely blind, but I also couldn't turn the nuts that are on the bolt because it's completely rusted. So I hacksawed it off. So I'm gonna have to order a new bow eye. I haven't gotten it out yet. I'm still working on that, but I just finished doing this, and this thing is pretty big. So yeah, that took some effort. My Dremel tool just wasn't up to it. So I'm gonna get that out. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the bow eye lower in the bow. So I'm gonna patch the existing holes, you know, put some MarineTex on there, maybe an extra layer of epoxy on the inside or something. I should glass the outside, but you know, then I gotta sand through the gel coat. I've gotta sand down the fiberglass. I would have to lay a couple layers of new glass, and then I would have to re-gel coat. And I'm just not gonna do that right now for two relatively small holes. So I'm gonna use some MarineTex, basically sand it a little bit. You know, it's white MarineTex, so it won't be super visible. And then I'm gonna sail with the boat like that this year. And I'm gonna move the bow eye lower, obviously a different bow eye, I gotta order one. Move that lower on the bow so that I can access it with the inspection port that I just installed. And it should be fine. There's plenty of room above the waterline. The current bow eye was very, very high above the waterline, so it might actually be better to have it a little lower. The other thing that I found out is that my boat does not have any flotation foam inside it, so it's just hollow. So that's kind of interesting. So I don't know when the rules for all dinghies having flotation foam went into place, but I guess it was prior to after 1987. So. Okay, so this is what was inside the hull. So this is where I chopped it off, where it sticks out. And you know, you can see these are rusted on really, really well. So yeah, no hope of getting those off, I don't think. And then this is all that was left of the wooden backing block, is a couple fragments. So my guess is that there might be some chunks that are down in the hull, but yeah, that's all that was left up in the bow. So my new bow eye came in. I got this on Amazon. So this is a Sea Dog. I talked to Bill at Precision. He said that back in the 80s, they were not using Sea Dog yet, but you can see it's exactly the same. It's got the 2.5-inch threads, and it's a 3/8 inch diameter. So this is gonna work really well. Okay, so this is what it looks like after the grinding. So now I'm going to follow up with some lighter sanding, try and blend it in, and then just scuff up the area around it so I can get good adhesion of the epoxy. I have sanded this, and now it's ready just for some decontamination with acetone, and then some MarineTex. I'm just waiting for one part to come in, and that's the bow eye backing block, which I ordered from Catalina Direct. So it's for a Catalina 22, but it'll be fine in this boat. I'm gonna have to do a little grinding, you know, sanding, shaping, whatever. Okay, so I've drilled my first pilot holes into the bow eye backing block. So this is a 3/8 inch bow eye. So I've got to enlarge these holes. Okay, so this is the bow eye repair. You know, these holes were pretty big, and so even though MarineTex, it's not as runny as like the JB Weld marine epoxy. I mean, it is pretty thick stuff, but it was still, because of the angle of these holes, which is this way, it was running down. So I just put, again, some plastic, and so the plastic made some indentations on it. So that's going to be some low areas. Yeah. So when I sand that, I'm not going to be able, this little area is going to be low in that little area. But I'll get it as smooth as I can. And then this area, I did not need to put plastic around it. There's a little bit sticking out, but I'll sand that flat. Okay, so this is the lower area on the bow, and I'm going to start with this 60 grit sanding block. All right, so after sanding, the repair area is right here. So I think that turned out pretty well. Okay, so I had some more MarineTex work to do, so I went ahead and used the excess for fixing. So where I drilled, some of the fiberglass cracked and peeled off. So I went ahead and went around these new holes with some MarineTex, and then I went back and I filled all the low spots where the plastic bag had creased. And so I'm gonna sand that back down, and hopefully that comes out with a little bit better result. Okay, so you can see here I was able to fill in those low spots in my initial repair, and then also just build up around these holes. I did get another piece of fiberglass crack again here on the second repair. So it's not perfect, but the 5200 that I'm going to put around the bow eye will take care of that. So overall, pretty happy with this. Again, you know, these are not, I'm not trying to do this back to, you know, factory original. I'm just trying to get this boat on the water. So when I'm doing epoxy work, I not only wipe the surfaces with acetone, but I actually wipe, you know, everything with acetone. So the threads of whatever I'm mounting. All right, so the inside of the trim ring, get some acetone wiped down. Okay, so this is my 3M 5200 fast cure. So once I puncture the seal of this, you have 24 hours to use it. So I got a little bit of time with that. With the JB Marine Weld, once I mix these two together, then I don't have that much time. Maybe, you know, half an hour before it starts getting pretty stiff. So I'm going to apply the epoxy on the inside and then start putting them in those holes. You can see I've got a flashlight in there. Okay, so I've got on both sides of the backing block for good measure. All right, so now it's time for the 5200.